What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the PFF NFL show, and welcome to Draft Week. It is the Monday before the 2025 NFL Draft. Trevor, Sikkema, Dalton, Wasserman here with you guys. To usher your draft week, honestly, the best way that we possibly can, and that's with a mock draft. But it's not just a first-round mock draft. I feel like you guys have seen plenty of those over the last couple of weeks. Today, we're getting into a two-round mock draft. So we're building out those draft strategies like we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks. I'm excited to dig into 64 picks instead of the regularly scheduled 32. Dalton, how you doing, my friend?
Fantastic. It's finally here. It's the last mock draft Monday of the season. And look, I almost tried to convince the producers, hey, should we do a full 7-rounder? But then I remembered you already had one. You already had one a couple days ago with Connor Rogers, which on Stock Exchange, which you guys did a fantastic job with raising money for charity and all of that. So, we tried to keep you, a little bit fresh so you'd have something left by Thursday, Friday, Saturday with, so he said, we'll compromise it too so you don't have to do another 7.
I was going to say, don't you worry, brother. We're going to have our 7-round mock draft, but it's going to be the real damn thing over a 3-day stretch on the PFF NFL Draft Show, which I'm very excited to join you guys for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, right here on this channel. Going to have live streams going the whole time. Before we get to that, I just want to let you guys know, we're running a promo code right now over at PFF.com for a PFF Plus subscription. Draft25 is the promo code, and that gets you 25% off a yearly subscription, and that gets you everything. It allows you to have the fully unlocked mock draft simulator. You get the draft guide as well, which has got all the player comps, the scheme fits, the strength, the weaknesses breakdowns, things that we will be referencing throughout the entire draft show all weekend long. And it's not just for before the draft. I think some people go like, oh, okay, well, it's a little too late in the process now. I don't need the draft guide. It's perfect for when your team drafts a certain player. You can go back to it and you can see all the data points and you can see exactly how they fit with your team. So check it out. Draft25 is that promo code. Gets you 25% off that PFF Plus subscription. Subscribe.pff.com. But if you go to pff.com, you'll be able to find places to subscribe. I do not doubt that. We already got our first super chat. Praise YJ in the chat saying, Shedeur Sanders to the Saints, please. Here in this 2-round mock draft. We'll see. We'll see if we can make it happen there. Shout out to everybody who's in the chat, like Dalton saying that they joined the NFLSC 7-round mock draft. That was a lot of fun. And thank you to everybody who donated this past weekend when we were doing that stream for the 2 charities that we were raising money for. That was a lot of fun to do. And it was cool to see you guys kind of come together and do all that. Dalton, we got 64 picks to get to, my friend. Odds and evens. We'll go back and forth on this. And you know what? I will give you the first pick. I'll give you the layup here, as this is a little bit more of a predictive what we think will happen, since, of course, it is the Monday before the draft gets kicked off. So you're at the top, my friend. Number 1 overall. What are the Titans doing?
Yeah, I know you gave me this first pick, so I could kind of make the first noise and have a whole big rant and do all that and give you a little bit of air, but it's Cam Ward. I mean, there's really no explanation needed. We have 2 whole rounds to get through it, and let's just fly through the first one. And I think, look, everybody in the world knows this is happening. So yeah, don't be shocked on Thursday when it's Cam Ward, because it will be Cam Ward.
Did you see what the odds are for him to go number 1 now?
Did I see now you have to bet, what is it? You have to bet like $2,000 to make $10 or something. What was it? It's insane. It's minus something crazy.
It is minus 20,000 for Cam Ward to go number 1 overall. You would have to bet $20,000 to get $100 back. And you know that we're going to see the tweets out there of somebody who's putting up like $20 million just to, what's the math off the top of my head? Get $100,000 back. I don't know if that's exactly it. I didn't do great in math. Come on, help me out here. I think that like, that we're going to see somebody who has a betting slip that is something absolutely ridiculous, but it feels like it's a foregone conclusion at this point. So maybe it's free money. It's never free money, folks. The Cleveland Browns at number 2 overall. This one is also kind of just as easy here. I think this is Travis Hunter. I think the way that the Cleveland Browns have talked about Travis Hunter throughout the entire process, Andrew Berry kind of tried to hold his excitement for Travis Hunter when he was talking at the Combine, and now that we're about a week until draft week, I don't think they can contain it anymore. It feels as though they are speaking as if he is a future Cleveland Brown already. I think was a debate, and I think there was probably a good back and forth between him and Abdul Carter, but ultimately they're going with the player who I think is number 1 in this draft class at the top of my big board, Travis Hunter, going to the Cleveland Browns. So that puts you on the clock, as they say, where the draft starts. with the New York Giants at number 3. What's happening here?
This is really tough because I still think there's a chance they could take a quarterback. They could take Shedeur Sanders here. I still think there's a much more real trade down possibility than we think. I've been thinking about even trade scenarios where maybe they trade down a handful of spots and maybe still get Sanders. I'll keep it simple here though this time around. Maybe we'll mess around later in the week with it, and we'll take Abdul Carter, the next best player on the board. You add him to a defensive line that already has Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, obviously Kayvon Thibodeau. We'll see what his status looks like after they select Carter if it were to happen. But even then, if you leave him in there as the third guy in the rotation, you've got a dynamic pass rush group. And then all the suspense turns to maybe their second round pick and what they could have in a quarterback, or maybe trading back into the first round at that spot. But here, if that's their idea, they'll go best player available, and that's Abdul Carter.
Yeah, I think I still believe that Abdul Carter is going to go number 3. I don't know if the Giants can pass on a player as talented as he is. It does make it interesting what happens with Kayvon Thibodeau afterwards. They're not going to trade Brian Burns. I can't imagine they're going to trade Brian Burns. But I do feel as though Kayvon Thibodeau is sort of on the table then at that point to trade. And if that's the case, I wonder if they've put out feelers with him already, right? Do we have some frameworks in place to where once they take Abdul Carter, they're looking to trade back up somewhere to get some, maybe like a day 2, maybe a third round pick, something like that. I don't know what Kayvon's going to go for. We're each in the end of his rookie deal, and he hasn't been as good as you have wanted him to be. So I'm very curious as to what he would go for. I really don't know what the value would be there for him, but I wonder if that framework is already in place. Number 4 overall, the New England Patriots. It feels as though they are going to go offensive line. I know there's some great players on offense, Tetero, McMillan, Ashton Genty, Tyler Warren, Colson Loveland's gaining a lot of steam, not necessarily at 4th overall, but I think just to go pretty high in this draft. As much as I think the skilled players would be great for them, they know they have to upgrade the offensive line, and I think they're pretty comfortable with Will Campbell. I haven't really heard anything outside of the general, hey, he's kind of got short arms, that makes me feel as though New England is going to shy away. And who he is as a player and how he approaches the game, I think is going to be very Mike Vrabel-like, and they're going to want to invest in that sort of a player on their offensive trenches. Whether he's a tackle or a guard long-term, I think he's a great fit for him. So we're going to go Will Campbell here for the Patriots at number 4.
Yeah, it sure sounds like they like him enough to take him that high, and left tackle is the biggest hole on their team, and now they can start building the skill positions and maybe find a pass rusher later in this draft. I think, we could still see a surprise. Maybe it's Armand Membu, and they've been fooling us the whole time, but the things that Vrabel has said about Will Campbell, it certainly indicates that that's very much in play there at number 4.
5, Jags. What do we got here? Because, for a while, hey, maybe you'll still go Mason Graham, but Adam Schefter this morning putting out an article saying, hey, there are people who have no idea what the Jags are going to do. They think they're a total wild card. They think Ashton Genty's on the board. They think Tyler Warren's on the board. Tetero and McMillan. There are now a lot of players who are in the conversation here at number 5. Is this just draft week smoke? Do you think it's Mason Graham? What do you think the Jags do here?
I'm going to take it like it's draft week smoke. I think everything this week is going to be smoke. Honestly, this is as chaotic a pre-draft process, I think, as far as predicting it as we've had. Beyond the first 2 picks, I really don't know what anybody's going to do. So I think the predictive part of this goes away pretty quick. I'm going to stick to what I've been saying the entire time. If Mason Graham is on the board, and obviously Travis Hunter is not, that's who they should take. They've got a big hole at defensive tackle. Last year, they had the 4th worst defensive tackle unit in the NFL. They didn't sign a single defensive tackle in free agency. And I know the Jags are, maybe they're trying to stir it up. Maybe they're trying to cause some other teams to panic and trade up and do this and that. Or, even in Chris Collinsworth's mock, he had them trading down to number 10 with the Bears because maybe they wanted Ashton Genty. You keep your options open. You keep the phone open until it happens. But if they get to this pick and Mason Graham is on the board, to me, that's exactly who they should take to complete the front 7.
I don't think it's a home run, slam dunk pick anymore. We could just take this to the bank. But I do agree with you. I still feel like that's the favorite until I really hear otherwise. Austin Smith in the chat with a $5 super chat. We appreciate you. Love you. Thanks for getting in on the show. Need Jaden Higgins in round 2 for Justin Herbert, ideally after Loveland. Holy cow. Talk about needing some new offensive weapons. You get Colson Loveland in the first round. You get Jaden Higgins in the second. I mean, that would be incredible. I'm not so sure either of those guys makes it to the Chargers picks, but the Chargers are one of those teams that has 10 selections in this draft. They could get very aggressive in round 1 and round 2 to get the playmakers that they want. So if they were to stay put in those 2 rounds, not so sure those 2 guys make it to those 2 selections. But if they get aggressive, certainly anything could happen there if they make sure that they're working the phones correctly. Las Vegas Raiders here at number 6. We talked a lot about what the Raiders could do, right? I think Raiders fans have certainly chimed in on throughout the offseason. They need corner. Do they go corner here? Do they go Will Johnson, Jahdae Barron? They perhaps need offensive line. I think that some people have made the case for an offensive line selection. Armand Membou sliding right in at right tackle, I think, is ideal for them if that is what they want to do. They need a wide receiver one, a Tetero and McMillan, right? I think that could make sense for them in the offense. But ultimately, it leads me to the one name that I have not named yet that's been in this conversation. I think they take Ashton Jeanty if he's there at 6. I really do. I think that this team likes Ashton Jeanty. I think that they like offensive line as well, but I believe that they think they can get an offensive lineman a little bit later in the draft. I think people look at John Spytek, the new general manager, and his background with Jason Light, making sure that Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensive line has been as good as it can be every single year. That doesn't necessarily mean that they have to take one at number 6. The Buccaneers have gotten starters along their offensive line in the 2nd round, in the 3rd round. They've gotten starters on their O-line at different spots. And so I think that the way that Spytek looks at the draft, he believes, especially in this draft, with a lot of tackles who are, kicking inside and guys who could be a little bit more versatile, like perhaps they really do believe that they could get an offensive lineman that they like a little bit later in the draft. Now, you would say that this tackle class maybe not as solidified in the depth as it is at the top. I understand. I just think that they're going to take Jeanty. The more I think about it, the more I listen to their situation, I feel as though that the NFL loves this dude, and I think the Raiders are one of those teams that do. So I will have Jeanty off the board here at number 6 with the Raiders. That means you're up with the New York Jets at number 7. What do you think they're doing? We've talked a lot about what you would do being the Jets fan here on this show. What do you think they're going to do at number 7?
I do think there's still a bit of a wild card because they have several needs and there's several players at those positions. I think I would think about Tetero and McMillan. I would think about Tyler Warren. If Mason Graham were still on the board for any reason, I would almost guarantee you that I would make that my pick. I think to put him next to Quinnen Williams would be great. But it seems that there's a consensus that the Jets have such a big problem at right tackle that they need to take one at 7. And for the most part, all signs point to Armand Membou there. So it might not necessarily be the move that I agree with, even though it does lock down a pretty good young offensive line. They really would need to hammer home and get skill players on day 2, I think, especially at receiver and at tight end. Those need to be big areas of focus because they're just thin as far as pass catchers beyond Garrett Wilson. I do, in a predictive sense, I think the most likely pick right now is Armand Membou. That's what I'm going to go with. He plugs in at right tackle. You do have a good young offensive line. Fashanu, Simpson, Tippmann, Vera Tucker, and Membou. That's pretty darn good. If Aaron Glenn and Tanner Engstrand are trying to build this offense the same way they did in Detroit, it starts with the offensive line, and that means getting the best right tackle in this draft.
I think the conversations come down to him or Tyler Warren, right? I mean, we've been talking about that for a long time for the Jets, and it does feel as though if Membou's on the board, they would take him, and they would solidify that starting 5 offensive line. The Carolina Panthers is another team that we've talked a lot about, a lot of different options that this team has. I still think they're going defense, even with sort of the rise of, it sounds like Colston Loveland's going to go a little bit higher in this draft than we previously thought. Tyler Warren's still on the board. Tetero McMillan is still here. Luther Burden, Matthew Golden, there's been hype for those guys. Emeka Egbuka is somebody who we have heard that just a lot of NFL teams love. I still think it's going to be defense. I'm going to go with Jalen Walker here. I think Jalen Walker, even though he's lower on my board, he's 25th overall on my final big board, which I submitted yesterday. So I'm not tinkering with it anymore. I'm done stressing about it. I submitted it as my final big board. So what you see over on the PFF big board is the final one that I'm going to have. I have him ranked 25th. I think the NFL is a lot higher on him. And they just love the football character. They love the high football IQ. They love what he could be as an off-ball and on-ball option for them in the defense. And I think that the Carolina Panthers, a team that really needs to get better and more playmakers on the defensive side of the ball, I think they did a good job in free agency. And I think that they believe that they've got a future star here in Jalen Walker. At least that's the way that I have heard them talk about him. Number 9 overall is the New Orleans Saints. Are you going to make YJ happy in the chat? We should do Sanders here at number 9. Do you think that this happens?
Not only that, I'm gonna make my mom happy, who she's a devout Saints fan. And the second all this Derek Carr news came out, she said, "Hey, does that mean we get Shedeur?" And I said, "Well, he's got to get by the Giants first, but I think it might be leaning that way. We've seen the betting odds even start to lean that way. So I'm going to go with that. I'm going to take Shedeur Sanders. You know I love him. I know I'm higher on him than you are, but the Saints, they need to make a long-term plan here. They really have failed to do that since Drew Brees was getting towards the end and then retiring. They've just never had a plan as far as what that succession plan is. You know, it was Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill and this co-QB thing, and then it was Derek Carr for a bit with Dennis Allen, and that didn't work. So I think reset at the quarterback position. I do have my concerns about their pass protection, and they seriously need to look into this interior offensive line, I think, on day 2. Maybe we'll get to that later. We'll see where that goes. But get your franchise quarterback in there and take it from there and build around him, right? I do see the argument for not taking him because this team needs so much help in the trenches that you could just focus on that in this draft and then wait for, is it another Manning in New Orleans? Is it Garrett Nussmeier maybe joining his dad, who's the offensive coordinator now? We'll talk about conspiracies as we get there, especially if they pass on Sanders. But for right now, I'll go with Shedeur, and I'll have him as their new franchise quarterback.
Oh, Jonathan with the $5 super chat wants Shedeur to the Rams. I mean, I would love that setup. I don't know if he lasts that long. I don't know if he gets all the way to the Rams, right? But the Rams would be a good spot for Shedeur.
For sure.
Agree?
Oh, yeah. Any quarterback that lands with Sean McVay, especially to develop behind Stafford and they don't have to start right away, I think you have to feel good about that, right? I mean, him, Kevin O'Connell, Kyle Shanahan, it's that tree of guys. It's a cheat code for quarterback development, right? And Shedeur going there and not having to start right away in an offense that has an absolute ton of pieces to work with and an emerging defense, that would probably be the ideal scenario for him, but I would doubt that he's going to get that far.
YJ is back with the $5 super chat, said in all caps, "Thank you. The Saints need Shedeur badly." I'm not sure that he'll be great, but we have nothing else. I like Rattler, no disrespect, but it seems like he believes that Shedeur is an upgrade over Rattler and at least somebody that could start for them and steady the ship, if you will. Chicago Bears now up at number 10. I think if Ashton Jeanty was on the board, they'd be taking him, but the fact that Tyler Warren is here, I think he is the selection. I think that this is a really nice tight end room if you throw Tyler Warren in there already with Cole Kmet. You love the receiving weapons that you have on the team. I think you can get running back a little bit later. They've got pick 39. They've got pick 41. This is the one that I think is sort of a luxury, but it's one that Ben Johnson talked about this at owners' meetings. He said he was chatting with Dennis Allen, their defensive coordinator, about a guy like Tyler Warren, and he was just asking, what does this do for a defense? And Dennis Allen's like, it makes it incredibly difficult to plan for when you have a player like that who could do everything for you, who could play in line, who could play in the slot, who could just align in a lot of different spots. And so he said it was sort of a nightmare for defensive coordinators, and I think they'll take that to heart if Genty's not on the board. I think, and Tyler Warren is. I think they'll go Tyler Warren here at number 10. San Francisco 49ers at 11. Who you got?
Certainly a lot of options here because they have multiple spots they need to upgrade. But I'm actually going to go back to a pick I was making a lot earlier in the offseason, and that's Kelvin Banks Jr. on the offensive line. Look, perfect for their outside zone run scheme. Ran it a ton at Texas. He's an excellent athlete, whether you want to play him at right tackle or if they don't think, the length is going to work at tackle necessarily, put him inside at left guard where they just lost Aaron Banks. Maybe eventually he's the succession plan to Trent Williams there on the left side. But I do think Kelvin Banks would be a perfect fit for him. Him or Memboob, just because of that experience, especially in the run scheme. They're not going to have to teach him a whole lot. So we'll see what the position looks like. But again, you're about to pay Brock Purdy. You have to protect him long term. And I think with what's remaining on the board, the best way to do that is with Kelvin Banks Jr.
Cindy gave us a $5 super chat. Appreciate you, Cindy. Would like to see what a Bengals trade back would look like. Need more picks. All right, we can talk about that when we get to number 17 with the Cincinnati Bengals. Cowboys up at number 12. I think that this is wide receiver, and with Tetsuo McMillan still on the board, I think that it's going to be Ted. I don't think they'd take Matthew Golden or Emeka Egbuka over Ted McMillan, although I would throw their name into the hat here as well. I think that Dallas could be in a situation here at number 12 if they love all of these receivers, because none of them have been taken yet. They could be a team that could potentially trade back and get a wide receiver a little bit later. There's not really a threat. I mean, Miami's not going to take a wide receiver. Indianapolis isn't. The Atlanta Falcons aren't. I don't think the Cardinals will. The Bengals certainly aren't. The Seattle Seahawks likely aren't unless it's Tet and they really want to take Tet there. I don't think the Buccaneers will. And so that gets me to I'm trading down at maybe Denver if Denver really wants to trade up and get, Walter Nolan, or maybe they believe that they've got to trade up to get Omarion Hampton or something like. Maybe it's a Colson Loveland. They're trading up to get him. I wonder if Denver could be a team that's a little bit more aggressive. And I think that if this scenario plays out like this, Dallas could absolutely move back. But here I'm gonna have them stay at 12. I'm gonna have them taking Tetairoa McMillan. This is a top 5 player for me. Somebody who I think it is excellent in this offense. Really complements CeeDee Lamb really well. And I believe that the Cowboys are going to make a splash in this draft. They want offense, and I think that they made some defensive additions to show that they could be able to do that. So Miami now up at 13.
So I think between Chris Greer's comments on Patrick Paul and how they really want to give him a fair shot at left tackle, and now the Jalen Ramsey trade rumors, for a long time we were obviously projecting offensive line, and here the top 3 tackles are all off the board by the time it gets to Miami here at 13, which is a very real possibility. I think there's going to be an arms race for these tackles in this range, but with those guys gone and the comments from Greer, the Ramsey trade rumors, if you take Jalen Ramsey out of that secondary, it's about as bare as any secondary in football. So I'm actually going to go with a cornerback. I'm going to go with Will Johnson from Michigan. I just think they're looking at a hard reset in this secondary. They tried a more veteran approach last year. Didn't work. Kendall Fuller cut. Jalen Ramsey on the trading block. Javon Holland gone in free agency. They're kind of patching it together right now, but this cornerback room without Ramsey might be the worst in football right now, so we're going to reset it with Will Johnson.
I also think that's the pick now at this point, but man, when you look at the Dolphins, they got so many needs. So many needs. I think they've really got to do a number on that roster this draft. So we'll see what they're able to do. Salenti in the chat, $5. Appreciate you. Do the NFC West teams prioritize length at cornerback to combat the Rams and their pass catchers? Rams are my favorite for the West, by the way. He wanted to throw that in there. I think you always prioritize length at the cornerback position. I don't think you necessarily scout like for your division. Sometimes you do, because obviously you're playing those teams more during the season. It's a guarantee that you're going to face them, so you want to make sure that you have some counters. But if that's a reasoning, to me, it's like a bonus reasoning. It's not really like, okay, well, let's really build our scouting report around making sure we stop the teams in the division. First and foremost, they got to be culture fits for you. They got to be scheme fits for you. So that really, no matter what, has to be the case there. And they could do that, right? There are some off-zone coverage corners who are a little bit longer. Like I think of like Zoff Frazier a little bit later, O'Donnell Fortune a little bit later. Like these guys that they could get decent length and be able to play in that off-coverage format. I think that like Trey Amos could play in off-coverage as well. I want to make that very clear. I think that he's a good off-coverage corner for as much as he could play in press. So it's an interesting point, but I don't think you emphasize in-division opponents too much, especially at wide receiver where there could be a lot of change throughout the years. Indianapolis Colts at number 14. This one's too easy. It's Colston Loveland. I know it feels a little bit chalk right now, this mock draft that we got going on, but I feel like we're finding a lot of good homes for these players. And I think that this is where we really start to talk about Colston Loveland, maybe even a little bit higher, I guess, from what we were hearing reports earlier this week. It seems the NFL is really, really high on Colston Loveland. So maybe you're talking about him fringe top 10 range, but certainly here at number 14 for a team like Indianapolis desperately needs a weapon like this at the tight end spot. Loveland at 14, I think, makes a ton of sense. So you're up with the Falcons at 15.
I've got several options here because there's a ton of great players. When I look at all of those guys, Malachi Starks, Mike Green, Jahdae Barron, Jahad Campbell, I think any one of them could be fits.
I'm worried about Campbell's. I've heard there's medical concerns with the shoulder. Like, he had the shoulder injury, and I have heard a little bit of that like some teams don't love where his shoulder is at with rehab. I guess that is sort of what I have heard. Again, could be some smoke. Medicals sort of are always a little bit mysterious and ambiguous. But remember, we loved Johnny Newton last year. And Johnny Newton ends up going in the second round because of the foot injury. You knew he had to have surgery again, and I think he'll be fine long term. But just very interesting when you talk about
I mean, the smoke from maybe it's smoke from lower teams trying to get him to drop down. Maybe there's a team in Tampa Bay that wants him, that's trying to get him to slide a little bit. Maybe. I'm not saying anybody's driving a narrative here, but sometimes these things happen. But I think I'm going to lean away from it anyway. Let's circle just back to the fact that the Falcons' biggest need is in the pass rush. And I know they have a lot of young guys, but I think a lot of those guys are more rotational. Obviously, they lost Grady Jarrett inside, but I'm still looking at the edge, and I'm going to go with Mike Green. I think he's the next best stand-up edge rusher in this draft. I think even with Braylon Trice and Brandon Dorlus and those young guys coming back, they need that one just super impactful pass rusher. And I think this is the style that Raheem Morris is going to look for. I think they can find a solid zone CB2 later in the draft. I think maybe a little bit more help at safety later in the draft. But I think a talent like Mike Green at this spot, I think it makes a lot of sense when you consider, look, the Falcons were the second worst pass rushing team in the league last year. They are not going to win this division. They are not going to make some sort of postseason run if they can't rush the passer. And if you're selling me that, well, Braylon Trice is coming back off a torn ACL, he was still a third-round pick last year, and I do like him a lot, but they need a star. They need a star pass rusher, and Mike Green could be that for them.
Cardinals on the clock at 16 now. This is the toughest team to draft for. It really is.
I know what I would do.
What'd you say?
I know exactly what I would do here. I've been sold on this for at least a month.
I would love it. Let's hear it. Who do you got?
For me, it's Jahdae Barron.
So I love Jahdae Barron in this. I think that he is also really great for them in John Gannon's like off zone scheme. Is Campbell on the board? Like, is Jihad Campbell on the board for them? Do they want to get better at the linebacker level? Do you think about long-term with the offensive line? Like, Josh Simmons is here. Could you draft Josh Simmons and say, like, all right, were you, like, taking a redshirt year for you and you can start at right tackle the year after because Jonah Williams last year on his contract? You feel good about the offensive tackles that you have moving forward? I think about that. Defensive line, you could, but I feel like they've done a lot of work on the defensive line to where they wouldn't pick that. Let's go Jahdae Barron. I'll go Jahdae Barron. I like the fit. I think there's a lot of different avenues that they could go here, but Barron is a scheme fit to me. It comes down to how much of an upgrade do they feel that he is over SMB and over Garrett Williams and over Max Melton. And if they do feel as though Barron is now their CB1, then you feel really good about your corner room and really just your secondary overall. So we'll go Barron here, but I think about Campbell in this spot. I wonder if they believe that they can get linebacker help a little bit later.
I think Barron and Campbell would be in this spot my two heavy favorites for this pick, and otherwise, I think I would consider, like, in a scenario like this, anyone other than one of those two players would be a curveball at this point. They have spent so much money and so many resources on the D-line, and they'll probably still add more depth later, but I would be more and more surprised at this point if they went D-line. I don't know. I'm not as sure on Simmons as you are. I know that's been a point of contention between us, but
you just don't want to be great. It's fine. You just don't want to be great.
It's a whole thing. You know, I just never want to. But if Membu were on the board somehow, some way, home run pick, then take him. I don't think he's getting this far, but to me, Barron or Campbell are the two picks, and I would lean in on Barron.
Cindy gave us that $5 super chat to talk about, scenarios, maybe where the Bengals could potentially be back. Dalton, I want you to think it could trade back. Dalton, I want you to think about that. Well, I asked the good people out there, what's your child's future success look like for you? Talking to all the parents out there, what does that look like? Is it your child, owning their own business, just having that flexibility with their family? Maybe it's them getting to travel the world. Maybe it's a lot of family trips together. Whatever that is, you can help them achieve that with a kids investment account from Fabric by Gerber Life. Fabric by Gerber Life, it was designed by parents for parents to make it easy to plan for and manage your family's financial path. With the kids investment account from Fabric, you can start investing in your child's future today. This specific kids investment account allows you to invest on your kids' behalf right now and gives their investments much more time to grow. It starts with just $20. The whole thing is online. You can manage the funds right from your phone. There's no contribution limits to it. Got tax advantages, SIPC insured up to $500,000 as well. No commission fees, just a low flat monthly maintenance fee. Funds can be used for anything. It's not just when they're older. It can be when they're younger as well. You're just saving money for them. It could be sports. It could be music classes. It can be tutors, tuition, things like that. And when they're older, maybe it is helping them travel, going on those trips together like as a family, buying their first house, buying their first car, starting a business, whatever it is. Join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their family. Start investing in your child's future today at meetfabric.com/PFFNFL. That's meetfabric.com/PFFNFL. MEET fabric.com/PFFNFL. The portfolios are managed by Fort Washington Investment Advisors Incorporated. Additional services provided by Apex Clearing Corporation. All investing is subject to risk. Learn more at meetfabric.com. Any thoughts on a trade down here, Dalton? Like even did you sort of identify some spots where they could, even if we're not doing a trade down here in this mock? Any thoughts there?
Yeah, there's a few. I'm going to think about a team that's a little bit desperate and has a little bit of extra capital. Let's talk about, let's say, the Houston Texans. How about we do this? You
don't have to do the trade. I just wanted to throw out scenarios.
I thought we were just going to go ahead and do one if you want.
No, you can do one if you would like to do one. It's a predictive mock, so we weren't going to do a ton of trades. But if you feel convicted, if you feel it in your heart that you need to make this move, you can.
Let's shake it up. Let's shake it up for the sake of the chat. I think the chat wants to see a Bengals trade down here. Let's do this. Houston Texans looking to move up from 25.
Okay.
We're going to go with, we have it up there. Let's go with that 79th overall pick.
Uh-huh.
And that third rounder next year.
Okay, so 2 third rounders. Third rounder this year, third rounder next year.
2 third rounders the Bengals are getting out of this. One this year, one next year.
Okay.
And you know what? I'll indulge you. The offensive tackle run has already happened with the first 3. The Texans don't like their odds of, what's happening here. The Seattle's sitting there. Maybe a team like the Chargers goes offensive line, the Packers, somebody. These offensive linemen, they don't want to see them all flying off the board. They're getting antsy. Get up to 17 here. They'll be the team that takes Josh Simmons. They just got to move up together.
Okay, let's go. Let's go. I like it. Cindy, there we go. We got the trade in there for you. I didn't know we were gonna get the trade that went through. I actually don't hate that. I don't hate that for both sides because the Texans, they have those 2 second-round picks next year, correct?
Yeah, they do. They have 2 second-rounders next year and 2 third-rounders this year.
So, yeah, so they feel as though a trade like this, it's almost just like, all right, we're playing with house money, if you will. And we're going up to make sure that we get the offensive tackle that we like. Seattle Seahawks at 18. Man, the Seahawks just always do something that I feel is like a little off the wall for them.
Is it? I mean, I think this first-round pick is so fascinating to me for Seattle because I know you've had Zabel sometimes going here, but I think they might wait and maybe maneuver or wait a little bit on interior.
I also think they might wait, but if they wait, what are they waiting for, right? We can't just say like, oh, okay, yeah, they're not going to take Gray Zabel. All right, they're not going to take Gray Zabel. And as opposed to what?
Well, you have options because you have the 2 second rounders, maybe Donovan Jackson. You have 2 second rounders and 2 third rounders, and day 2 is a really good spot this year to get interior or line. Also, all those extra assets you can maneuver. They can maneuver up from 50. I think they could get aggressive earlier in the second round, maybe even later into the first round, depending on the package. So I just don't know that they need to force interior with this exact pick. If there's somebody off the edge, if there's somebody at receiver that they like, if one of the 3 big corners were still on the board, I think that would absolutely be an option there for another outside guy. So I don't think they need to force interior offensive line here because I think they have so many assets on day 2 that they can fix it then.
I wonder if they pick Donovan Jackson instead of Gray Zabel. I wonder how much higher he would be on certain teams' boards.
It's entirely possible, sure, especially with the big-time experience at Ohio State. And the tackle flexibility doesn't matter to me so much. He's a guard, but it would just – I think they have so much maneuverability on day 2 to get the guys that they want anyway that I don't think – they don't necessarily have to force a pick like Zabel here at 18. I think receiver, edge, or maybe one of the big 3 corners.
Yeah, I wonder how comfortable they feel. Because they didn't give Cooper Kupp chump change. I mean, they gave him a good amount of money to be there. So I don't think that they would take – him. I don't think they would take Luther Burden. If Tet was here, I think they would take Tet.
I think if it's a receiver,
tight ends were here, they'd take the tight end.
If it's a receiver now with what they have and what's already gone, I think it's Golden.
Yeah, I guess you're right. It would be Golden. It would be Golden, or I would like to get them a pass rusher, like an edge rusher. I just don't know how they feel about, okay, they acquired DeMarcus Lawrence. They have Boye Mafe. They've got Uchenna Nwosu. They have Derek Hall as well. Like, it's a decently deep edge rush room if you like your guys. If you don't, okay, I think it's a different conversation.
Or do they take Shamar Stewart just to go, let's get the tools in here?
I don't think they're going to do that. If they draft Kenneth Grant, they could free up Byron Murphy to not have to play nose.
They're pretty stacked on the inside already, though.
But they are.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, that would be a luxury pick for them. I like this because this is normally very easy for the Seahawks. We just take interior offensive line. But I do agree with you. Like, I feel as though they think they can wait. They don't have to take one here.
I agree.
Let's take Matthew Golden. Let's go Golden. Let's take Golden. We're gonna go wide receiver Matthew Golden here. I really don't know exactly what they're gonna do here at 18, but I'm not convinced that it's interior offensive line there at number 18.
I'm with you. I'm absolutely with you. I think day 2 is a sweet spot, and they can maneuver however they want. I'm with you. They could get a playmaker here. All right, who do you want? Do you want Starks, Campbell, or Ezraku for Tampa?
If Campbell's medicals are good with Tampa, they would take Campbell. If they're not, I think it's Ezraku. And then the wild card is Maxwell Hairston, I think.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think Harrison's a wild card for the Bucs at 19.
See, I wouldn't do it this high. I think I'm with you. I don't think
the league's a lot higher on Hairston than we are.
I don't think he's sliding too far. I'm going to go
take Campbell. I think they would probably
Campbell.
take Campbell. I think they would.
I'm going
unless the shoulder is just terrible, which I haven't heard that, but I think they'd take Campbell.
Yeah, I mean to finally get a real succession plan for Levante David, I'm in on that, and to get a year where Campbell gets to play with David. And the thing that sticks out to me with this pick is middle of the field coverage was really Tampa's biggest problem. Campbell fixes that big time. He's one of the best, if not the best, coverage linebacker in this draft. I think that's a big help, and it really gets him into the future of that position.
Okay, Broncos are up at 20. I think it's Hampton. Even though I like the defensive line thought process, I think it's Hampton. This is what we think will happen mock draft. And I think that they really believe they need that. They need that full-time back. It's disrespect to Audric Estime, obviously, which the addicts know on NFLSC. But let's go Omarion Hampton here, the running back from UNC. I think the league really likes this dude. He's going to be a first-round pick, and I think Denver's absolutely a landing spot for him.
I think
it's 21.
I think it's about as high as he goes, but you're right. I've warmed up to that idea. I got to be honest, the way things are going lately, not that I'm in love with it. I think the Steelers are taking a quarterback here. I think almost no matter what, if it's Shedeur or whoever it is, the thing that's been kind of ringing through my head is it going to be Milroe or Dart? Which one of those two do they like better? That's really if you have any thoughts on either one, because you've got Dart as the deep ball thrower that can get it to Pickens and Metcalf. You've got Milroe as the dual threat that adds some sense of dynamism to their offense. So in this spot, I think they're taking a quarterback. I'm not in love with it. If it's Shedeur, then I'm in love with it. You know me with Shedeur, but I think this is going to be Jalen Milroe or Jackson Dart if we get here.
Did we get any more information about why Jackson Dart backed out from going to Green Bay?
Maybe Mike Tomlin told him something. See that?
Because I'm just not convinced that unless you really hear, hey, you're not going in the first round, why would he say yes and then back out? It's not like, all right, no, I'm just kidding. I want to have a party at my house. You would have already thought of that. Not that he can't change his mind. I get wary of that. I think the quarterback conversation is overblown. I still do.
For Pittsburgh or just all of them or what?
All of them that are not Cam Ward. I still think that right now.
I agree beyond. I'm you know me. I'm a believer in Shedeur, so I still think. Look, if Shedeur ever got to them at 21, I'd sprint the card in. That's me. But let's go with Milroe then. You mentioned it. That we got all sorts of dark conspiracies going. I don't love this pick either. I just think the Steelers are so desperate. And look, I think at this point we have to assume Aaron Rodgers is just not going to be there, especially after the comments he made last week on McAfee and everything else. He's just got other things going on, and we're so late in the process. We're now 3 days from the draft, and we still have no idea what Aaron Rodgers is doing. I think they have to proceed like they don't have him. And at this point, it's a desperate move, but I think they're going to make it. They're going to do something here at 21 to get a quarterback.
This one's pretty easy for me. Kenneth Grant's here. I think that this is going to be the pick. I don't really see anybody else. Emeka Egbuka, I would love. Would they take Emeka Egbuka over Kenneth Grant?
If Jim chooses an Ohio State guy over a Michigan guy there that fits, that's going to be Harbaugh's going to cause a stir if he does that. You can bet on it.
I think they would take Grant. Let's go Kenneth Grant here at 22 and stick with it.
If he calls a guy a gift from the football gods and then he takes an Ohio State guy over him, boy, Ann Arbor's going to have some beef with Harbaugh if he does that. If he takes an Ohio State guy in this first round, there's going to be some beef. Anyway.
Yeah, it's true. There's always going to be beef with Jim Harbaugh, and I mean size.
Yeah. Well, now he's got more of it with Kenneth Grant. See that?
That's what I'm saying. See, you got it. You got it. I was leading you right there. Slam dunk, alley-oop there.
I'm starting to figure it out.
There you go. Green Bay. That's good that we have chemistry now because the draft show is in 3 days, so we better get that down.
But we're finally getting used to each other. It's good. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Packers at 23. Who you got?
This is tough. This is one of the hardest ones, I think. Receiver, edge, corner. Which way do they go about it? Do I stick to my conspiracy or do I go receiver? I really look. I don't think this is the year they're breaking the streak. I know you guys have been on this with a receiver. I don't think they're going to break the streak. I don't think so. If this doesn't feel like the year that they're going to do it. For as much as I would really think about Luther Burden, I'm actually going to stick to my old conspiracy. Give me Donovan Ezeraku here. Get him back with Jeff Hafley. I know they have faith in Lucas Van Ness. They're waiting on a breakout, this and that. I don't believe that it's coming. So, I think just go with an edge rusher. Go with one that you know. At this point, I think there's a very real chance, it sounds like, that Ezeraku's going ahead of James Pierce Jr., and who knows him better than Jeff Hafley, the Packers defensive coordinator, who was the former head coach at Boston College. I'm sticking to that conspiracy until it doesn't happen.
The Vikings at 24. There's a lot of thought about them trading back, right? But there's not really a quarterback that you would trade back for, somebody that I think, unless somebody loves Walter Nolan, I don't think you're trading up for anybody who's still on the board. So instead, I'm going to have him take Gray Zabel here. Gray Zabel could start at guard for them immediately, and then he could be the long-term solution for them at center. I think that they would see him as absolutely a two-contract player and a multi-position player for them. And so it would take a special player for them to really feel like this pick at 24 would be worth it and not moving down, because they only have 4 picks in the draft. Gray Zabel, in my opinion, is one of those players that if he is there, he would be worth it for them. So we now got the Bengals on the board at 25. Cindy said it worked out. Nolan, Harmon, Starks, Eamon, Worry, Pierce, Banks. There you go. Who we taking at 25? Actually, Banks is already gone, so Banks is gone. But the rest of those guys still here. Who the Bengals taking at 25?
I think there's a couple of guys behind the glass here that would really like this pick in this scenario, getting an extra couple of third-round picks, one this year, one next year, and then getting Walter Nolan at 25. That's where I'm going. I think you get a young, high-ceiling, impact type of piece that could change this defense. We know how talented Walter Nolan is. He just started to show it at Ole Miss this past year. Second highest run defense grade in the country in college this past year behind Mason Graham, working on the pass rush. I think this is the type of high-ceiling player that the Bengals need in their defense to really start moving this thing forward. I think we did right with the trade. It was a great job getting that trade done and then get down 8 spots and still get a player like Walter Nolan. I thought maybe you were going to take him in Minnesota, but the fact that he gets here to the Bengals, a big-time win.
That was, for Minnesota, it was like Walter Nolan, Malachi Starks, and Gray Zabel. Those 3 players that were right there. I could absolutely see Starks as well. Man, it's hard for me to not think that Starks we go to LA. I know they have great safeties already, but this caliber player still being here, man, he's just too good.
It does feel a little bit weird. Maybe they take the talent. I also think the 2 other guys that jump out at me are Trey Amos and James Pierce Jr. The Rams, obviously, we like what's going on their D-line, but their edge group lost some of the depth in free agency. I think Pierce would also be a thought for me here.
I like all those guys. I would throw Ben Morrison in there as well. Again, he's like Jihad Campbell. If the hip injury sort of like checks out for teams, he's excellent. I think he's a first-round caliber corner for them. Let's go Ben Morrison. I'm gonna go Ben Morrison.
Oh, you're going with it. I was just gonna look at. I believe he's holding a private workout. I think today for teams. Just to,
is he?
I believe it's today that he's holding it. Maybe even right now. I'm just seeing if there's any updates on that. But that I believe is something that's happening 3 days before the draft. That Morrison's holding a workout to prove that he's healthy. So this could be a dark horse player because the tape. Look, I have him CB4. I have him ahead of awesome. Amos and Ravel. Yeah. He's fantastic, no question. Every time when he was healthy at Notre Dame, especially with all the man coverage they played, he's really good. Reminds me, to me, a bit of Kamari Lassiter to him, who had a great rookie year in Houston. So I wouldn't hate this pick at all. I think as long as you prove that he's healthy, if he can prove that he's healthy, I'm not against this. He's super talented.
Okay, who you got? Ravens 27.
All right, so our head Ravens fan here, Gordon McGinnis, said in the first round he wants one of 3 players, Donovan Ezeraku, who's gone, Shamar Stewart, or Nick Scorton. I'll indulge him. I'll take Shamar Stewart. I think there's a possibility that he goes much higher with the physical tools, the combine, the freakish tools that he has. I don't know that he would get much further than here or maybe Detroit. This might even be the end of his slide. I think it's entirely possible we see him go in the top 20, but I'll go with it. He wants one of the A&M guys. I'll take Stewart. I think the guy that's thought of to have the higher ceiling with his tools.
I'll go Nick Scorton for the Detroit Lions here at 28. I would love to get Malachi Starks off the board. I don't think he should be here. I don't think he should slide like this, but there's a lot of teams within the range of sort of where he would be on big boards, in my opinion, that have good safeties. And if he doesn't go 24 to Minnesota, there's, a little bit of an unknown of where he could potentially go. I'm going to have Nick Scorton go to the Detroit Lions. I think that the Purdue tape is too good, man. Even the Texas A&M tape, man, it's way better, I think, than people are giving it credit for. Him on one side, Aiden Hutchinson on the other. Really good pass rushing duo there for the Lions. 29, Commanders. Who you got?
I will stop the slide right here then for Malachi Starks. I'm going to pair him with Quan Martin in the secondary. I know they have needs off the edge and at corner, but a talent like Starks who can, it's flexible. He can play in the slot if you want. Obviously is an excellent safety, especially, he's got the instincts to play back there, single high, two high, whatever you want. If for any reason they don't get another corner that they like and they have to leave Mike Sainris still outside, then Starks still gives you options schematically on the inside in the slot there, and I think they can do a lot of different things with both of those players. But this is a talent play. If we get Starks at 29 to Washington, I think they should feel really good about it, and they can still fill D-line needs later in the draft, O-line needs later in the draft. I know there's been a lot of talk about even running back with this pick, but they can get to that. It's such a deep running back class. They take advantage of the fact that here, the top safety in the draft fell to him.
All right, Starks goes off the board there. For Buffalo,
I think Derek Harmon might be more. It sounds more and more surprising that Derek Harmon would get out of the first round or even this close. Do you think the Bills like Derek Harmon?
I think so. I think I'm debating right here between Derek Harmon, Nicky Manwari, and Trey Amos. One of those three players, I think, is who the Bills would take in this situation.
I would not like Manwari in their defense with their flaws they already have.
I think it's Harmon. I keep leaning more towards Harmon. Let's go Derek Harmon, the defensive tackle from Oregon, here for the Buffalo Bills, number 30, and then we can try to get corner for them in the second round there. Chiefs. They gonna force offense? I feel like they might not force offensive tackle. Honestly, I really feel as though unless somebody that they love falls to them, I don't know if they're gonna love Connerly. Maybe they will, but I think there's some defensive players that they would love.
The way that they're structured, they obviously need a left guard more than a left tackle right this minute. You might be right on that.
Just depends how confident they are in Kingsley.
I wonder, man, there's certain guys I wonder about here. Is it Tyleik Williams? Is it Landon Jackson? We haven't got Michael Williams off the board, which might be
I think it could be. I think it could be Michael.
It could be Michael, because you think about they do need help in run defense up front, and Michael's another guy. He could go top 20. We're slightly lower on him, but he could very well go in the top 20. Let's go Michael Williams here to the Chiefs. I don't think we've done that yet, and I know usually I get one of the Georgia Bulldogs to the Eagles, but we'll go Michael. We'll help out the run defense off the edge, and he can do a lot of different things for you, even pass rush from the inside. So we'll go with that. Michael Williams, Kansas City.
I think I'm going to take, let's see. Yeah, I am. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go Maxwell Hairston here to the Philadelphia Eagles at number 32. You're losing Darius Slay. I know they have Keely Ringo. They got Adoree Jackson as well. They have Eli Ricks, but I think Maxwell Hairston makes them feel really, really good about their cornerback room moving forward with DeJean, Quinion Mitchell, and then Maxwell Hairston. Like I think that certainly there's a couple of different directions that they could go. They could take James Pierce Jr. I really thought about him there. Landon Jackson could be their type as well. If they want to hit safety, they could potentially draft Xavier Watts to be able to help make up for the loss of C.J. Gardner-Johnson. But I think that they believe in Sidney Brown. I really do. I think that goes into their trade there. So that's the end of round one. We're giving you a second round here in this mock draft. Before we do that, though, which I guess we can scroll around and we can make sure that we're recapping what we've got here. I got to talk about what I got on my head here. The melon hats. These are my favorite hats that I own, people. The reason why? Excellent combination of comfort and durability. You know how it goes. You pick up a hat you see you like. All right, you pick it up. It's either super structured and uncomfortable, and you're just not going to love wearing it. Or it's really comfortable, it's really lightweight, and super flimsy, and it's not going to keep its structure. These hats, they're not your average hats. They make the most premium headwear in the world, folks. Whether you're tailgating, whether you're working out, whether you're on the golf course, whether you're heading out for date night, whatever, you need a melon hat. They're built to last 5 times longer than any other hat out there. They've got a lot of different collections. They've got, for example, the thermal collection, got a little bit of warmth to it. Make sure that you're keeping yourself warm during the cold months. I know that we're just kind of coming off of winter here, but you can get one. Make sure you got it for next year. They've got the hydro collection. So this summer, if you're jumping in the pool, if you're at the beach and you're jumping in the ocean, if you're going to a lake, if you're sitting on a boat, whatever it is, these are waterproof. They're great for those situations as well. You can see all the different types of collections, that they have over at melon.com. Like I said, it's great. It's a great combination of comfort and structure. They're built to last. They're built for the water. They're durable. The sizing, it fit any shape and size of your head. They've got all different types of sizing. It's not just, it's a one size fits all with like a snapback. Okay, they even have like smaller hats or bigger hats depending on the size of your head. So if you are looking for the world's most durable hat, look no further, folks. There's a reason why I'm wearing it here on the show. Not just because they're a sponsor, but it's because it's comfortable and I enjoy wearing it. melin.com. Put these hats to the test for yourself. They're fantastic. Sticking to round 2 here. I just picked for the Eagles. You're up for the Browns. Who we got?
I'm not a huge fan of this, but I think at this point we know the Browns, this might be a quarterback spot for them. I would continue to build the rest of this team, but I also think they're going to not want to walk into the season with Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco as their quarterbacks, at least if they're trying to compete in any way whatsoever. I don't know that this helps a whole lot. I'm not a huge fan of it, but it sure sounds like they're going to take one of these quarterbacks either at this 33rd pick or trade up a handful of spots. I'll give the Browns Jackson Dart here. Again, I wouldn't force it, especially with where they're at as a franchise. I don't think they're going to be relevant until Deshaun Watson's off the books anyway. But it seems like they want a quarterback. They just don't want to take him second overall and pass on Travis Hunter. So I'll give him Jackson Dart there, and I'll deal with the wrath of our producer Tyler afterward.
Lucas, I missed a couple of super chats, so I'm catching up on those. Lucas with a $5 super chat. We appreciate you. Based on what I've heard from people connected to the Chiefs, I would be absolutely shocked if they picked a non-Josh Simmons tackle on day one. So we did not have them taking a non-Josh Simmons offensive tackle, Mykel Williams. I'm wondering if, Lucas, do you hear anything about Mykel Williams? What do you think about that one? Appreciate you for the super chat. Jonathan Peck, $5 super chat as well. Mykel Williams or Malachi Starks for Washington. So we actually made that one happen. We didn't even know. So there we go. That's that connection that we have. Host, listener, watcher, audience member. It's beautiful. You love that kind of synergy. Blake, $5 super chat. We appreciate you. Do we see a chance where the Steelers trade up to number 19 to jump the Broncos for Hampton, or even trade back since we know that Milroe will be available?
They have so few assets that I have a hard time seeing them giving up more to trade up. I think they're in a spot. I know the Shedeur talk has been a thing, but even, that's a big trade if they were going to get, say, from 21 to 8. But they giving up the second-round pick for DK Metcalf leaves a big gap in their draft capital, and I just don't know that they're going to hand out more assets to move up, especially for a player like Hampton in what's such a deep running back class. I think it's actually very unlikely the Steelers trade up.
You think it's unlikely?
Yeah.
I do too. I don't know. Yeah, I don't feel as though they're going to do it. One spot, I guess maybe. You're just jumping one spot. Like they got them trading from like 21 to 19, but I don't really feel. I don't really feel. They would have to love Hampton, really loved Hampton for that to be the case. I'm not sure that they do. 34, New York Giants. We had them taking Abdul Carter, I believe, at number 3 overall. Right? If we can see the previous picks tab.
Yep.
You can see the previous picks.
Abdul Carter.
Oh, I don't really need him, but Emeka Egbuka's right there. I also like Trey Amos.
I mean, do you want me to be honest with you? I think
just drafted. They just signed a Debo, so I guess they're all right there.
I think a guy that I would really like as a fit here. I would think about Tyleek Williams.
Somebody next to Dexter Lawrence would be great.
Yeah.
I actually like their secondary. We're all right at secondary. Edge rusher, you're fine at. Which guard you left? Oh, is Donovan Jackson still there? Donovan Jackson's still there, right? We didn't take him.
Go with this. Maybe put him at right guard, move him over, move Runyon over.
Donovan Jackson's there.
Donovan Jackson?
Yeah, let's go Donovan Jackson. I was overthinking it because he wasn't right in front of me, but Donovan Jackson. Abdul Carter, Donovan Jackson is pretty nice. You're up at the Titans.
I had the right school. Damn. Anyway. Donovan Jackson. Okay. All right. All right. This pick to me is easy because I think this is still a guy that shouldn't get out of the first round, and the Titans are super thin at receiver. Give me Luther Burden to Tennessee with Cam Ward.
Excellent.
I think to get this vertical threat, this after the catch threat, this Deebo Samuel type of playmaker, it seems to be that there's a chance he's going to drop here to the second round. I don't understand it. I still think he should be a first round pick. If the Titans get out of these first two picks, and I do think it's a trade down spot for the Titans because they have a big gap in their draft capital too. They don't have a third round pick right now, but if they come out of these first two picks with Cam Ward and Luther Burden, I got nothing to complain about for Tennessee at all. I think that's a great start.
If you're not going to take Emeka Egbuka to the Titans, I'm going to take him here to the Jacksonville Jaguars. This one's way too easy for me. Egbuka and Brian Thomas Jr. moving forward, those are two wide receivers that you feel really good about. So drafting Mason Graham at number 5, like we did here in this draft. It's like, all right, well, you're passing over, Tetro McMillan. You're passing over, guys like Ashton Genty, Tyler Warren, Colson Loveland, all those really good offensive weapons. If you can get Mason Graham and then get Emeka Egbuka in the second round. Now, I don't think that he lasts to the second round, but here in this mock draft, he certainly did. What a 1-2 combination that would be. I had the Raiders taking Ashton Genty in the first round. Who do you have for them taking here?
I'm in between because I really want to take Jaden Higgins here. I so want to, but this secondary is so rough, and we got to start attacking it, don't we? I'm caught. You tell me. I'm going to defer to you on this. Is it Jaden Higgins or is it Trey Amos?
Walt in the chat wants us to take Jaden Higgins, but
I want to take Jaden Higgins so bad, but this secondary is. I mean, the Raiders are going to get in some shootouts if we get Ashton Genty and Jaden Higgins and don't take anything in the secondary.
I would take Trey Amos. The chat is going wide receiver. I think we've got to take Trey Amos here. They have one starter. They have one starter in the secondary.
They do, but
they have Jacorian Bennett, and then they're hoping that Eric Stokes can maybe be a starter for them.
Are you trying to get Higgins to New England? Is that what you're doing to me?
No, I'm not. I don't have an agenda here. I really don't. The agenda here is that the Raiders do not have any corners. That's the agenda.
But you know what? You know where Pete Carroll finds corners? Day 3.
All right.
Going with it. I'm riding with the chat. Jaden Higgins. Let's do it. Jaden Higgins, Brock Bowers, Jacoby Myers, Ashton Genty, Geno Smith. We're getting in 35-30 shootouts every week with the Raiders. We're doing it.
I think this one's going to be James Pierce Jr. to the New England Patriots. I think that this one's pretty easy for me. I know they have it. They're okay with Harold Landry and Keon White there as their edge rushers, but I think that they need another speed element there, and they need somebody that they can lean on in that pass rush. So the fact that James Pierce Jr. makes it to them here in the second round, I'm going to go with this pick here. So Will Campbell and then James Pierce Jr. there as the haul for the New England Patriots.
God, I like the trench play going on there. I'm in on that. All right, here we go. The Chicago Bears. I am going to go with somebody I mentioned earlier because I think if they pass him up, there's a decent chance that you would take him for the Saints here. I am going to take Tyleik Williams from Ohio State, 39. I think to get another run stopper in there on the inside where they weren't very good last year on this defensive line, I'm going that route.
Wait, so who'd you pick?
Tyleik Williams.
Oh, okay. All right. So I like them getting a little bit more stout on the defensive line. I definitely would have considered Tyleik Williams here for the Saints. Who do we have them taking in the first round? Who do we have them taking at 9?
The Saints have Shedeur.
Oh, they did take Shedeur. Okay. So we got Shedeur. I think it's defensive line for them. They need so much help on the defensive line.
Darius? Maybe Darius Alexander?
Yeah, I wonder if the age would kind of spook him a little bit.
Or do you want a pass rusher? Because you've got Norman Lott, you've got T.J. Sanders sitting there. Or you go with an edge?
The league's not as high on Norman Lott as I am. That's fine. That's like my guy in this draft.
Maybe a Landon Jackson? Get some size on the edge?
Yeah, Landon Jackson's there tight, man. He really is. If they draft Connerly, the chat's saying Connerly.
Oh, Connerly. I actually don't hate Connerly at all here because you know what?
Because then you could I need to right tackle.
Yeah, I need to protect Shedeur and Connerly. I think he's a smooth pass protector. You know what? Now that you've mentioned it, I might go with Connerly. I think I'm in on that.
Wait, Cam Jurgens is now the second highest paid center in the league?
Oh, did that just happen just now?
I saw he got re-signed, but he's the second highest paid center in the league?
Hey, Philadelphia. Pay him early. He won't be the second highest paid for long.
Okay. Let's go Connerly here. Make sure the offensive line's where it needs to be. We'll go Josh Connerly. You can flip Bouanga back to right tackle. You can move Trevor Penning inside. Cesar Ruiz, Eric McCoy. Decent 5. I'm all right with that 5. Bears, you're back up with here. We're here with the Bears. You going running back? What are we doing?
It could be running back. I also like some of these safeties that are on the board too.
A lot of Travion Henderson hype lately. A lot of that going around.
There's a lot of that going around.
A lot of that going around.
A lot of that Travion hype going around. Man, I just really I forgot we didn't get Xavier Watts off I really want to take Xavier Watts here. If Dennis Allen's going to come in and be more aggressive with this defense than he usually is, I might take Xavier Watts as a free safety, man.
I mean, they have Byard and Brisker, but do you worry about the concussions with Brisker?
I do. I worry about the health with Brisker. And look, Byard was good last year, but he's still an older player who plays, I think, better right now down closer to the line of scrimmage. I think I'm going to take Xavier Watts. Let's get a low-moving cost move in there. We'll get Xavier Watts in there. It's not too far from Notre Dame to Chicago, only maybe 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours or so. I'm going to do that. I'm going to take Xavier Watts. I think he's the second-best safety in this draft, and I think it really helps that Bears secondary.
All right, Jets took Armand Membu at 7, here at 2. Would have loved Tyleik Williams. I think I could also love Darius Alexander. I could go pass rusher if they want to. I don't need a Tyler Booker.
I think Iomaner makes sense too.
Iomaner definitely makes sense for them, and he's going to block his ass off. I don't feel as though the league is as high on Iomaner as I am. I feel like Jack Besh would actually be the pick here and not Iomaner.
It could be him too, though. I think that role for him makes sense in this offense. If that's what we're going, if you're talking about power slot St. Brown type of role, I think that it makes sense for Besh too. Yeah.
Let's go Jack Besh here. I'm gonna go Jack Besh.
Okay.
Let's go offense.
Look, we always need offense. I'm not
Niners are 43. They took Kelvin Banks. You gave him Kelvin Banks Jr. in the first round.
Kelvin Banks first. I think Robert Saleh would like Landon Jackson. I think he likes those bigger, longer, wide 9, keep contained sort of, especially with the run defense, the help that he gives them there. I think Landon Jackson. He likes those ideally built defensive ends. Landon Jackson is very much ideally built. They got to work on the pass rush arsenal, but I think the floor that he raises in run defense on their defensive line helps them a lot. I'll go Landon Jackson, San Fran.
Okay. Who's on the board now? Who do we got? Cowboys. Would they draft Eman Wari? Because he's still there, and I feel like he's got to come off the board soon, just from a predictive standpoint. They have Donovan Wilson. They got Malik Hooker. They have DeMarvion Overshown. Hooker's gonna be...
Somebody's gonna take him just for the tools.
Yeah, I wonder if Dallas is that team. I wonder if they think he could play a lot in the slot too, Because right now they've got Izzy McQuamu in the slot.
Yeah, and because they lost Jordan Lewis.
Right.
That's possible.
Yeah, let's go Eman Wari here. I think he's got to get off the board at some point. I think Jerry's in for a splash draft. You're taking Tet in the first round. No, wait, Tyler Booker's still here. Isn't he? No, they're drafting Tyler Booker.
Also, are you going running back here?
No. I think that they think that they've done enough at running back where they don't have to take one. Gotcha. Tyler Booker still being on the board. I'm going to take Tyler Booker.
Okay.
Let's go with him.
I don't hate that.
Yeah.
I don't hate it.
Colts, love them first round. What would the Colts do in this situation?
I think I'd go a linebacker here. I think so. I think I'm going to go Demetrius Knight. They lost.
I think Schwessinger is liked.
You think he's liked better than Knight? I mean, I have Knight. I only have Knight one spot ahead of him, like you do. It's very close between the two. I think either one could work as that weak side guy. But either way, which do we think then? Flip a coin.
If you're taking a linebacker, I would get Schwesh off the board. Okay. I think he goes first.
Deal. We'll go there. Either way, same idea. Weak, athletic, weak side linebacker. I think I like Knight a little bit better in coverage right now, but that's all right. They need a weak side linebacker to go with Zaire Franklin.
Atlanta Falcons, they're going to go somebody in the secondary because we gave Mike Green in the first round. But before we do that, got to remind these people that the podcast is brought to you by our friends over at Cherry Bundy. They are the performance drink that is fueling the Health Elite revolution. I've tried the products before. At least I've tried the staple juice, the recovery juice before, and it's awesome. Tastes great. The tart cherries, I mean, they're fantastic. All sorts of natural ingredients with reducing soreness, anti-inflammatory, increases recovery for you. Whatever kind of active lifestyle that you're doing, whether you like to get a couple of steps in around the neighborhood, whether you're doing CrossFit, whether you're training for a marathon, like whatever it is, Cherry Bundy's got all sorts of products to be able to help you recover and feel and perform your best. It's used by nearly 500 collegiate and professional sports teams. Every single NFL team uses this product. They're available basically everywhere. Amazon, cherrybundy.com, retailers nationwide. Publix, Kroger, things like that. So check it out and make sure that you can, if you can get it in person, you can get it there. Or if you want to save 20%, you use promo code PFF20. All orders over at cherrybundy.com, you get 20% off. And they've got, it's more than just recovery drinks. Sometimes they've got great stuff for helping you with sleep. And sometimes they've got pre-workout stuff as well to help give you energy. So you can see the whole catalog that they have. If you want help in performance, any way, shape, or form, whatever your active lifestyle it is, go check it out. Cherrybundy.com, 20% off. PFF20 is the promo code there. This one's too easy for me. Trey Amos. I'm going to have Trey Amos coming off the board here to the Atlanta Falcons. Mike Green, Trey Amos, phenomenal 1-2 punch there for the Atlanta Falcons. To me, it's exactly what they would need. You're up with the Cardinals, who took Jahdae Barron in the first round. What are they doing in the second?
Man, I got to tell you, the Amos selection hurts me here. No, actually, no, we got Barron. I meant to say the Tyler Booker selection hurts me here. I would have really thought about Tyler Booker for the Cardinals. I think
Swinson, Princely.
No, I think I'm going to go back to my linebacker theory here. I'm going to go Demetrius Knight here. This is an underrated flaw for this team. And I think, again, with Jahad Campbell on the board, I think it's possible at 16. I think they need to get a linebacker if they want one pretty early in this draft, because I think there's only maybe 4 starting caliber players right now, and Knight is one of them. I have him as the second best linebacker. I'm going to go Demetrius Knight for the Cardinals.
The Miami Dolphins, first round went Will Johnson.
Ooh.
Eamon Worry's still here. I think they would sprint it in.
There's a couple of guys. Eamon Worry would be a thing. Kevin Winston would be a possibility. The other guy I love for them, but I don't know if they would do it this high. Man, I would love Alfred Collins to replace Calais Campbell.
I think that's a great fit.
I'm so in on that. But you're right. If Eamon Worry's sitting here, they're probably
Eamon Worry's here at 48. They're taking Eamon Worry. So we're going to take the safety, Nick Eamon Worry, off the board here for the Miami Dolphins, who desperately need secondary help and absolutely could double dip a little bit here with Will Johnson and Eamon Worry. Bengals, a little trade back, got an extra third-round pick. We don't get to use that here in this mock draft because we're only doing 2 rounds. But Walter Nolan in the first round. What are the Bengals doing here in the second round?
Man, again, these interior guys. Tyler Booker's off the board. Would have had him here.
We go Tate Ratledge here? Chat's talking about Tate Ratledge. I think it's a good call out.
You think he's going this early?
I think second, third round. Yeah, definitely.
I love Ratledge for the Bengals. That's the only thing I question is, do we think he's going this early? You have him up to 68. I guess it's within range.
They need interior offensive line help. Big school. They always gravitate toward the big school dudes.
Oh, just put him back next to Mims.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, fine. Tate Ratledge. We'll say top 50. We got Tate Ratledge all the way in the top 50. Look, I did not. There was a time I didn't think that he was getting there. I thought he was a solid third rounder. But you know what? So many of these guys from, what would you say, 20 to 80 are so interchangeable that I at this point, nothing's out of the question. So I'm in on it. Protect Joe Burrow with your life, and probably hurt you a little bit here with the Seahawks, but we'll go with it.
Robert Myers apparently hates it. That's the longest amount of O's I've seen in a all caps no in a long time from the chat. What do the guys behind the glass think? The Bengals fans behind the glass producing this show need to know.
Are guys back, Quinn or Eli back there? Are we good with Tate Ratledge? We good back there?
We are good with Tate Ratledge, but I think that you guys have the most chalk Bengals mock draft in the history of mock drafts. Walter Nolan and Tate Ratledge are probably like the 2 most popular picks for good reason. And I'd be down with it.
You need some chalk. You need to not.
They do need chalk, and you hit it. They need help. They just don't need just help on the interior. They need starters. They need somebody to come in and start right away.
And
I think Ratledge can do
up
that.
There. Yeah, I'm with
Ratledge could absolutely do that. Yeah. Seahawks at 50. We gave Matthew Golden in the first round, and the reason why is because we felt good about who they can get on the interior offensive line in the second round. Jared Wilson from Georgia, come on down. We're going back-to-back teammates here on the interior offensive line. This one's too perfect. He was excellent at center this past year as a first year starter, taking over for Cedric Van Pran. Excellent athlete at the position. Perfect for Clint Kubiak's zone blocking team system. So we'll go Jared Wilson, and then obviously we've got pick number 52 coming up here in a second. But Broncos took Omari and Hampton in the first round. Who are you giving them here in the second round?
I am going to stay. There's not one of the linebackers. I would have thought about one of those two linebackers if they were here. I'm going to stay on the offensive side. I'm going to go with the top receiver there. Take Alec Iamainer. Make him the X in this offense. I think, to me, it's funny because sometimes I watch Iamainer and I go, it's like a little just shades of Michael Thomas in that, and maybe Sean Payton thinks the same thing. So I think he'd be a good complement. He's that one-on-one route runner at the X. He's a great blocker. I think he's somebody in those intermediate targets who could really help him as Sutton and some of those other guys get over the top. Iamainer, we've got Hampton and Iamainer. We're starting to fill out this offense.
For the Saints here at 52, Matthew Golden in the first round, Jared Wilson here at number 50.
I got one. I got one I like here.
I have one that I really like here, but who are you going to suggest?
I think it's Revel.
I also think it's Savone Revel.
Make it happen. Green button.
100%. Yeah, that is the guy that I thought of.
Done deal.
He is exactly
Chemistry.
their type. Even with the Pete Carroll era gone, they have said that they're going to draft corner at some point. They already have Reek Woolen on the other side. They can use Devon Witherspoon basically anywhere. Josh Jobe is in the last year of his contract. I'm going Savone Revel here. To give them a cornerback.
This is the part real quick where I say I'm excited about this Seahawks draft because even though, okay, maybe Jared Wilson for some people, maybe a slight reach at 50, but the Seahawks have enough picks they can do something like that. So you've got a receiver, you've got what I believe is a starting day one center. You've got your CB2, right, along with Woolen and then Witherspoon in the slot. And with the depth at edge and at guard in this draft, guard is much deeper than center, I think. Now you're still looking at 82 and 92 going, yeah, we can still get what we want here. I would feel really good about this if I'm Seattle. And again, they can maneuver it, but I love these three picks we've made for them.
I don't love wide receiver for them in the first round, but the haul of Golden, Wilson, Revel, excellent. Like, I'd sign up for that. So, like, when we picked Golden, I was like, I like the player. I don't know if I love it in the first round for them, but I love the haul. I love the three-player haul here in the second round for them. Okay, Buccaneers. Who do we take? Who do we have them take?
Jahad Campbell. Right?
We went linebacker. They got Jahad Campbell.
All right, three guys jump out at me because they're pretty high on the board. I'm going to look elsewhere, but I don't think I'm going anywhere else with this. Three guys jump out. One, Braden Swinson, stand-up edge rusher. Two, Princely, stand-up edge rusher. Or three, that guy right at the top, Kevin Winston Jr.
I like Kevin Winston Jr. I think he could be a stud. The only thing that holds me back from picking him is they have talked about wanting to move Tyke back to safety.
Oh, okay. So, that's news. Okay.
Yeah, so I think that they feel pretty good about Tyke playing safety for them. Obviously, Tyke can play slot, so if they were in a situation where, let's say they love Kevin Winston Jr., they could pick him and Tyke could stay in the slot, but I feel as though they would draft Swinson or Uman Mielen. I don't really know who they'd be higher on of the two. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure.
They're slightly different, but they're two very similarly talented players. Which one do you want? You want Swinson?
I have Swinson ranked higher, yeah.
Oh, well, I guess that would make sense. That's right in front of me, too, of course. What's your opinion? Well, let me look at the board, actually. Why even ask you? Yeah, there you go. Braden Swinson. That's what we're going with then for the Bucs. Okay.
All right, who we got next? Oh, Packers.
This is a harder one.
This is a little bit more difficult. We gave them Donovan Ezraku in the first round. What corners are left? What do we have?
We took a lot of them. I think the next corner we have is Darian Porter. I'm not entirely sure there.
I wonder if Azareye'h Thomas goes here, because I think the league is higher on Azareye'h than I am.
Halfley getting back to the man coverage with Azareye'h?
Yeah, can
that makes sense.
Do more man coverage stuff.
Actually, that makes a lot of sense, I think.
Let's go Azareye'h Thomas. I'll go with him here. The corner from Florida State.
Okay. All right. Chargers. I need some weapons. Oh, there's that running back sitting there too, though.
Who, Cam?
Cam, I know.
I don't think they draft Cam. I don't think Cam's going to go in the first 2 rounds. I just don't.
Okay.
I don't think he is.
We already got Kenneth Grant. There was a guy.
Jalen Royals here.
I think a guy that we haven't talked about.
Did we get Higgins off the board?
Higgins is well off the board. Yeah. He went to,
right.
Was it Vegas? Yeah, I got him to Vegas. We're supercharged.
Yeah. You sniped New England. I forgot.
I think a guy that's going to go in the first 2 rounds, I think maybe it's borderline, but, they still have a need at tight end. The Chargers do. I think Elijah Arroyo is a guy going in the first 2 rounds.
I'm great with it.
Let's go Elijah Arroyo to the Chargers.
I'm cool with that. I think that's a really great pick for them. Buffalo Bills, they got 2 selections here that we're getting to. This first one, they got Derek Harmon in the first round.
Another spot. I would think about Winston, and maybe he sneaks in. I wouldn't even hate
Winston
Makuba.
Could be nice.
They had the lowest. Their safeties last year had the lowest coverage grade in the league.
Can I see safeties, please?
I don't hate Makuba at all. I love him. He's just awesome.
I think they would like Makuba a lot.
And keep in mind too, you have a second round you have a second pick here at 62.
No,
also,
I know.
If you wanted to wait.
Yeah. So if you feel good about the safeties, you're probably not taking a safety. Man, I would like to look at wide receiver. No, give me edge rusher. What do we got on the edge?
Princely?
It could be Princely.
JT?
Yeah, JT's more their type. Let's go JT Tuimoloau. I think he's more their type. So we'll lean into something that they've sort of gravitated towards. And I think JT is a really, really solid football player. I do. I think this is where we start talking about him as a good draft pick. Panthers are up. You got the Panthers. Jalen Walker in the first round. What are they hitting second round?
I think they continue with this front 7. And I know they signed some guys in free agency. They signed some Tershawn Wharton. They got some stopgaps in free agency. But I need a guy who I feel, unless I want a pass rusher. Oh, this is tough.
No, it's fun. The word is fun.
I know, that's
it's
true.
Fun.
I know. I'm just always trying to do the exact best thing I possibly could. I don't want Panthers fans mad at me now.
Nobody ever does.
That's true. It's a rabid bunch they have down there. You know what? I think they signed some run stuffers in free agency. I'm gonna go with a guy that I have ahead of you. We're flipped on this. I'm going to go interior pass rush, but I'm going to keep it low moving costs. I'm going to go TJ Sanders.
Okay. All right.
I have him higher on the board than Norman Lott. I think he can play a little bit more often. Norman Lott, still with the DPR kind of low snap count thing, bothers me a little bit. I'll go with Sanders.
Okay. All right. Oh, we got a couple more picks left here in the second round. Before we get to those, got to remind you guys the PFF's draft coverage is brought to you by our friends over at Jack Links Duos. Jack Links knows that there is nothing like a great duo, and now their new product, Jack Links Duos, is bringing that to life. It's 2 different flavored pieces of beef jerky in one bag. So it's the best of both worlds in a lot of ways. You get 2 different flavor profiles. It's not the confusing combination of, okay, there's 2 different flavors on one singular piece of jerky. You can go from one to the other. It's fantastic. Jack Links Duos knows that the NFL draft can create great duos all the time. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase got reunited in the NFL from their LSU days. Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua formed a fantastic wide receiver duo in the NFL via the NFL draft. What about Cam Ward? Cam Ward's going number 1 overall. His dream duo, if you watch his Fortnite stream, is Treylon Burks. That's the dream duo we got here, people. I'm giving Cam Ward his dream duo because he listed off his top wide receivers in the NFL, and he said Treylon Burks was in there at number 4. Future teammates, dream duos, we're making it happen. This one's for you, Cam. Shout out to Cam Ward there. Already caping for his future teammates before they're even officially teammates. Jack Links knows that there's all sorts of great duos out there because they've got great flavors out there. Mango and jalapeno, those are the two that are in one bag combination. You've got original and teriyaki. You got buffalo style and ranch, which we know is a tried and true combination. It's great stuff. Find Jack Links duos wherever you buy Jack Links jerky, local convenience stores, select Walmarts, things like that. Go check it out. It's a great product. All right, who we got here?
Houston, you're up with Houston.
We have the Houston Texans trading up. Josh Simmons.
I think I have a slam dunk pick here. If you don't.
A slam dunk pick?
I have a slam dunk pick I would go with here.
Is it Jalen Royals?
No.
Who is it?
I would take Darius Alexander. They don't have any viable run stoppers. Their run defense is a problem, I think, and they're going to continue to stay in those four-man fronts. I would go Darius Alexander here.
Don't hate it. In fact, I like it. We'll make it happen.
Oh,
Josh Simmons, Darius Alexander. I'm a fan. You convinced me. I'm a fan. Darren Carr, $2 super chat. We appreciate you. Panthers met with Princely more than anyone. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to draft him. And I know that you know that, but I just wanted to say this because I can't remember who said this on the timeline, but it was a good reminder. Sometimes teams meeting with players isn't always a sign that, like, okay, this means that we're incredibly interested and we're going to draft them. Sometimes, and in fact, if you're meeting with a guy multiple times, I think it's more of like, hey, we've got some questions we want answered for this player. Because if you meet with them once, if the background all checks out, if you love them, you probably don't even have to bring them in for a top 30. Now, sometimes they do. Every team operates a little bit differently. Maybe the Panthers are a team that, you know, as we see this regime with Dan Morgan and Dave Canales, maybe we do get some evidence to say, hey, the more they meet with the player, the more likely it is that they draft him. I'm not trying to disqualify sort of the context. I love the context. We appreciate you getting it in via a super chat. But I'll just say that it doesn't always mean, and sometimes when you're meeting with guys multiple times, sometimes to me that signals, are there more questions here than confidence of drafting this player? I wonder if that's the case there. So I could totally see Princely Monmielen being a selection there for the Panthers, but just wanted to say that as well. You are now up with the Ravens.
Let's see. Our guy Gordon wanted a corner, but he wanted Ben Morrison. He didn't get here. Would we feel good about Darian Porter in this defense? Or did they take the swing at Kevin Winston? Or do I go offense? Or is it Omar Norman Lott and they're always rotating defensive guys? I got options here.
I like Winston.
Go Kevin Winston.
Winston.
Kevin Winston and Kyle.
Darian Porter. I think one of those two dudes.
Kevin Winston and Kyle Hamilton would be nasty. Gordon wanted a corner, though. Let's go Darian Porter. Let's do it. They took one corner from Iowa State and TJ Tampa last year. Let's get another one.
Just bending the knee to Gordon. Unbelievable.
You know, he had a plan. I will give him this much. He had a plan today. He had a plan laid out. We didn't get him Ben Morrison. We'll get him Darian Porter. We'll go with that.
I get it. You have to submit your expense reports through him, and so it's always dangerous. You know, if he's pissing, you know, if you're pissing him off, maybe he takes a little bit of time, a little extra time to shoot the expense reports through. I get it. I understand.
Well, we got to pay the bills. You ain't lying.
Just saying. Bending the knee a little bit here. Just get worried. Where's the mock draft integrity, Dalton? Who did the Detroit Lions? Who do we have them taking at the back end of the first round?
You had Nick Scorton. Pass rush.
Okay, we got the pass rush element there.
I might
good corner long term.
I might double up pass rush here and go Norman Lott here. I think they could fit him in that rotational role here.
That's actually a really good call out. I do like that from them. I don't hate Jaden Royals as well. Man, it's just such a stacked team. If one of the linebackers were here, I could think about that. I'm actually gonna go with Kyle Williams.
Okay.
I'm going with Kyle Williams, the wide receiver from Washington State. I think this is where we start to talk about him back into the second round, getting into the third round, allowing themselves to have three wide receivers that they absolutely love on the field at all times, and throwing in Tim Patrick there as well. Tim Patrick talked about how much he really loved Detroit. That's why I re-signed there. So having a plethora of wide receivers that you go with. I think the chat's yelling about offensive line. I think that O-line could be an option for them. I think they're okay with the guys that they have now. They'll hit O-line in this draft. Doesn't necessarily have to be here in the second round. I think Kyle Williams is absolutely a starter for them, and offensive line's more of a long-term look. So that's just my thoughts there. You're up with the Commanders. They took Malachi Starks at 29.
The two places my mind goes, I went Starks for the value, but the two places my mind goes now are corner and edge rusher, and we took all really the corners in this range off the board already. So I'm going to go with the best edge rusher left on the board, Princely Umanmielen. Look, I believe this guy should still be a solid second-round pick. Took a little bit of a slide here, maybe even gets into the third, depending on opinions of him. But 3 years of big-time pass rush production in the SEC is hard to deny, and I think he would fill a solid need for Washington there off the edge.
Yeah, Buffalo Bills back on the clock. We mentioned that they've got another pick here. I'll go Andrew Makuba over Kevin Winston Jr. Maybe the league does like Kevin Winston Jr. I just haven't heard a lot of talk about him with a very quiet 2024 season, dealing with that knee injury. So maybe the league is a lot higher on him. We just don't really know. But I can tell you that Makuba had one hell of a year this past year for Texas, and I think he's the type of player that the Bills love, is somebody who just plays with a ton of energy. He could play in the slot. He could play free safety. He could play strong safety for you. But, man, he's also loves to fly up towards the line of scrimmage. As long as you believe that his smaller frame can hold up in the NFL, you're getting a hell of a football player. So the Kansas City Chiefs now back on the board. You gave them Mykel Williams in the first. Who they taking here?
Yeah, there's no guards I would take in this range, from the rest of what's on the board. Maybe it's a convert like a Wyatt Milam or something like that. But I'm also looking at this running back group, and I need some explosiveness and receiving ability. And the guy that I think that fits the Chiefs, and look, he may go sooner than this. There's some very high opinions of him, but I'll give the Chiefs Travion Henderson here. I think they just need to add speed and explosiveness into this backfield. Henderson's not used to a huge workload, didn't have many games with over 15 touches this year, but in the Chiefs backfield, that's not going to be the case anyway. I think he complements Pacheco and Hunt really well. If they had a shot to take him here at 63, I think Travion Henderson would be the right pick.
Eagles, right? Last pick here. Who did they take it the first? Do you give him James Pierce Jr.? Who we give him?
Maxwell
Hairston.
So I think Winston's an option. I think Norman Lott is an option because they're always rotating guys anyway. Same idea.
Yeah.
Get that rotational guy.
Yep.
Those are probably the two. I think those are the two, actually.
Let's go Kevin Winston Jr. I'll go Kevin Winston Jr. here. He's just slightly higher than Omar Norman Law, but I believe you're right, is between those two guys. There we go. Full 2 rounds, up and down. You love to see it. I appreciate everybody getting in the chat, giving us some lobs, some suggestions on some of those picks, reminding us of some of the guys that were on the board. We absolutely love when you guys are doing that. We're excited. We've got so much draft coverage here between now and the opening night of the 2025 NFL Draft. And, of course, you guys know Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we will be live on this channel with the boss man, Chris Collinsworth, as well, reacting to every single pick of night one and throughout the rest of the weekend as well. Draft 25. That's how you get 25% off a PFF Plus subscription. If you don't have one now is a great time to get it. Save you a little bit of money and get a fantastic product. You get the fully unlocked mock draft simulator with the PFF Plus subscription. You get the PFF draft guide, which you can look at certainly before the draft, but also after the draft as well, after your team officially drafts these players. But a PFF Plus subscription, it's a year-round thing. There's all the great unlocked premium stats that you get throughout the entire season, all of our great draft content, all of our lock content throughout the year. You get to see all of that during the season, including a lot of the fantasy football stuff as well. So Draft 25, get yourself 25% off that PFF Plus subscription. We will be back with you on Wednesday for another episode of the PFF NFL Show as we count down the days, the minutes, the hours, the seconds to the 2025 NFL Draft. For Dalton Wasserman, I'm Trevor Sikkema saying thank you guys so much for watching the PFF NFL Show. We'll see you guys later this week.